Hi everyone, Coinage here, coming at you with another one. Thank you all for tuning in. Today we will be talking AMC. The time of recording, it is Friday, June 12th, right here sitting at market close. So without further ado, as always, none of this is financial advice, not a financial advisor. So let's get right into the video. So in today's video, we will be, talking AMC, looking at the EMA charts here. You could say that we have gotten the golden cross on the daily time frame, 50 moving average, cross the 100-day moving average here. So, and it has been a long time. The last time that this cross has happened was back in 2021. So we'll be going over that. So today we got here on the right side, right here, closed at $2.34. Currently, the post is at 232. Up for the day, 2% and 2.63%. So not a bad way to close the week here for AMC. So you could see that we are trading above the 200 moving average. If we go on the weekly time frame really quick, you know what? We'll actually stay on the weekly for a little bit and then we'll go back to the daily. That way I can go over some stuff with you guys. Interesting stuff here on the weekly time frame, the 50 moving average. We are above this. I mean, this is, good sentiment here for AMC. Good momentum. You could see right here back in October. This huge wedge pattern that had been forming for a very long time. You got your fake out. You could see, I thought we would be moving up a lot sooner. However, AMC, it's a heavy manipulated stock. A lot of people, um, bag holders here for AMC, including myself. So just heavy manipulated. Once things got boring, I'm sure a lot of people got out, just were sick of it, and that's when the script flips. When people are fearful, be greedy. When people are greedy, take some profits. So here now trading above the 200 simple moving average right here. I made this bar on my last video. Once we break up above this, that is very bullish, and I think that's when we will break free from that zone, possibly hitting the $4 range and possibly squeezing to my target, which is $9. I have a limit order for like a little over 2,000 shares at $9.23. I think that is a key level. That way, if it squeezes up there and it drops, at least, I'll lock in some profits. That's like 20K. I mean, that's not bad, So yeah, let's actually bring out the calculator. So at $9.23 times 2,000 shares. So I think you need like 2,200 shares. You'll be sitting at 20K. Not bad. Not a bad target to be at if we get, a squeeze to lock in some profits. But let's go ahead and do a little back testing here on the weekly time frame. You could see when it squeezed back in May of 2024. We reached for the sky right here. Did not, it reached for the 200 simple moving average, or the 50-day moving average on the weekly time frame. Sorry, kind of fumbling my words there, but it quickly dropped after that. I actually had a limit sell order at $9.23. It gapped up, so I actually ended up selling around $11. So pretty good play. However, around that time, I didn't have a whole lot of AMC as I currently do now. But good play. That's why I have my level at $9.23 again, because not sure if it would squeeze to this level right here, only just to move back down and, maybe find some consolidation before moving back up. But that's why I like this $9.23. I have it, on Robinhood. You just basically have to update it every 3 months. You gotta, update that way it stays active. So that is what I'm doing with that. Just some shares. That way you could potentially take some shares off the table. So $9.23. That is what I'm doing there. So if we back test right here, you could just see that price, just really struggling. The last time it was above, the 50-day moving average was here in November of 2021 when it crossed on the weekly time frame, or when it was above the weekly time frame. You could see right here back in January of 2021, before AMC had that nice explosion. So yeah, just heavy manipulated. What have we learned here? When there's a mainstream stock, it's best to not, load up everything on it. Good to be diversified, because if not, you will be the sheep herded into the slaughterhouse. So, definitely good idea to be diversified. So let's go ahead and jump on over to the daily time frame, and we'll be again doing some back testing just to look at the EMAs here for a second. You could see, as I stated before, this week, definitely a milestone here for AMC, hitting this golden cross here. Now, just because it gets a golden cross doesn't mean it's going to automatically squeeze from here. However, a lot of pressure building up. I think here in the next month or two, I think we could be potentially here, be setting up for a squeeze. So I do have some shares, selling covered calls, strike price at $6, expiring next week, which is June 18th. That's actually on a Thursday. Friday, the stock market will be closed this coming up week. I believe it's Juneteenth. So we got that going on. I won't be selling covered calls for July 18th, just because I think we potentially can be seeing a squeeze here pretty soon. So won't be selling covered calls just yet. Unless price gets to $4, then I might sell covered calls to collect some, nice, juicy premiums. So I got that going on. So as I stated on my last video, it hasn't crossed this 100 moving average. You could see it attempted, but no cross here. You could see no cross. Just AMC just bleeding out, just struggling. You could see no cross until right here, but it was just a quick fake out. So the last time it crossed was back here. You could actually see right here, it crossed and it came up, but only to come down. And then it got some momentum right here, creating this double bottom W pattern. Right here is when it crossed the last time. So that was back in January of 2021. We all know what happened there with Roaring Kitty. And while the broader markets, a lot of stuff squeezed back in 2021. So yeah, let's set ourselves up, and hopefully we make it to the promised land this time. If we get a good squeeze, definitely take some off the table, because we don't want to sit through this, again. So pretty soon, let's actually jump into this Luna Solaria app. Do like to track the moon, use that as a time frame. So we do have the new moon coming up here in June 14th. A lot of times these squeezes, as I stated on my videos, they tend to happen after the new moon, or even sometimes after the first quarter moon, which is June 21st, which interestingly enough, June 21st, that's the summer solstice. Very key date there. So gonna be turning on this moon indicator for you guys, just to that way we can kind of show you what I'm talking about here. So typically on your highs, a lot of times when the market drops, time and time, you could just see it over and over. I don't know if it's a secret code that the raw tiles, the higher ups, they understand this, what they use, and they use the moon to manipulate us, because the moon affects our mood. But, time and time again, if it's not the new moon, a lot of times it's the first quarter moon where it tanks after this. You could see here the new moon was over here, and then it tanked quite a bit. Right here, when we were up here at 277, we got this first quarter moon. I'm telling you, if it's not the new moon, a lot of times it's the first quarter moon. Then we tank. Back in 2022, interestingly enough, you know what? I'm going to pause the video and actually I'm going to show you guys. Be right back. Okay, so here we're actually taking a look at Dogecoin, but I just kind of want to mention this. Now, Elon Musk, I think, he's a part of the club, but back in May 8th of 2021, when he went on SNL to talk about Dogecoin and basically, I guess he said some like bad commentary about it, but that was around the new moon, and then after that is when it tanked. I think that was by design. These people, they know something, like it's like a secret code or something, but I just thought I'd mention that. A lot of times this does happen, so just something to be mindful. Right here again, first quarter moon, that's when it tanked back in May 2022. It's by design, but I'm gonna go back to AMC now. So a lot of times that's the tops. A lot of times you could see sell-offs happen a lot of times. And this goes with any currency. You could do this with gold. Well, actually gold is a little bit different, but since it's just been bullish basically. But basically, you could look at this with any currencies. It's the same thing. Any currencies, cryptos, forex, you name it. Here you have it again. It's just time and time. First quarter moon. Not the holy grail. It doesn't mean that, because it's gonna happen. It could happen also on the full moon or nothing. It's not the holy grail. It's just typically that's when it does happen. I just thought I'd mention that. Here, new moon, AMC here in May 2025. After the new moon, it started a tank. First quarter moon, it just tanked. Again, right here, just time and time. But one thing I want to mention, it's kind of like the reverse of it. A lot of times when squeezes happen, it's actually like the opposite. Here you have the new moon and it tanked, and here you got the first quarter moon, getting people to think that it's going to sell off. So a lot of people selling. Once they have enough sellers, then instead of it, tanking, it actually does the opposite when it's actually on the low. See, then that's when you get your moves up, and that happens time and time again. Here we have the new moon again. New moon's down here, getting people to think that it's going to sell off, only to reverse. So when it's on the top, the new moon or the first quarter moon, it drops. However, when it's, on the trading on the lower end, here you have it, first quarter moon, and it, it's kind of little baby squeezed upward. And now we're starting to have momentum. So, June 2021, I don't know exactly when, squeeze happen, will happen. Nobody knows. It's all speculation. And, none of this is financial advice. But we got a lot of momentum, a lot of, good fundamentals here happening for AMC, the box office, hitting good numbers. But, I think within these next couple months, a lot of tension is brewing. I think this is when we get our squeezes. So, very interesting stuff here for AMC. I'm going to go back to the daily time frame. Here's the golden cross. Yeah, it's looking good, you guys. Just thought I'd, make this video. Take some off the table when you feel that euphoria, and when it's low, that's the time to buy. So please do like the video if you find this informative. My last video got 50 views. I hadn't posted in a long time. I appreciate you guys that you guys watch it. Very lengthy video, but like the video if you like this. Really helps out the algorithm. Getting 50 views, that motivates me to make more videos. So yeah, like the videos, subscribe if you have not so, and thank you all for my subscribers. I do really appreciate you guys. With all that being said, have a good rest of your weekend, your good rest of your Friday. Take care, you guys, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace out.